All right, folks. Welcome back. It is our week 3 of Neverwinter, the biting cold or biting cold. Today is Tuesday. It's not Monday. Monday I had something a bit more important to do. So we, from our last week, have decided that we're gonna only do 5 weeks instead of 10 weeks. 5 weeks would be concluding the 4th milestone, right? The quote unquote the campaign story part of the biting cold. And a little update was checking out the Discord and reading people's feedbacks and whatnot. And yeah, it seems like this is becoming the overarching theme about the very apparent escalation of how much time it takes to do something, especially your dungeon runs and your gear cycling and whatnot. So many of the things that were talked about in the last 2 weeks serendipitously with other people about the feeling of level progression, maybe how horizontal investment, horizontal progress versus like vertical stacking, like serialized stacking where you're churning and replacing. So it's becoming very apparent that even the vocal people are sharing their discontent about the valuation of time, right? And that is very much tied with, again, the consistent double downing, or at this point triple downing on escalating the fair assessment about getting gear or progress or completing content. And I feel like at this point is more of preaching to the choir, where it's not that most of the arguments defending this type of model is that it's unprecedented, like it's existed. There was a precedence for this type of system where you have like 0.01% chance of doing something, RNG stacked on RNG stacked on RNG. I think with that said, the defenders, the people who are saying like, well, back in the day that's how it was, and back in the day, that's true, and it's there are some models that still exist now that does this. The thing is, it is that and it is out of touch. So live service, the way they're doing it is out of touch with live service. So it is both, yes, that's what it was like, World of Warcraft and all that, and they keep doing the whataboutisms, people who come to the defense like, oh, well, this game has this and it was all this rare thing and whatnot, just that's what it exists, so somehow it's acceptable. It's like, well, it's acceptable, sure, it exists right now. That doesn't mean it is not also out of touch. It is also out of touch with the current like sentiments, especially with live service and whatnot. So that is kind of the current dialogue. I'm not gonna belabor the point anymore. I've already set my like progressive piece over the last 3 modules. And today though, we are gonna see the second milestone, right? The second milestone dialogue. It is on the end that is interesting to me, I think is incredibly out of touch and short-sighted on my opinion. My criticism is that the first 4 weeks do not have milestones attached to them. Like, so the first milestone didn't have anything. The first milestone is a buy milestone. So I'm expecting that after we see this milestone, week 4's milestone is going to have nothing. And then the conclusion would be on week 5, because I don't do weekly haul excess And the only thing I record now, or interested in recording and looking at, is what lore or story that they included. And it looks like it's even less this time around than the previous time. So it's clear that the cost cutting measures, or the type of things they feel like are more priority, in my opinion, is misplaced. It's incredibly misplaced for myself personally. This is my own personal interest. My interest is week 1 has milestone things. The first 4 weeks have milestone things. But now it seems like it's only on week 2 and week 4. And I cover them on week 3 and week 5, which is today. So we'll go see what they included to set up the I don't know how to pronounce the new dungeon, but we'll get used to it. And the point of this week 3, is now I get to unlock the dungeon because it's set behind the quest, right? And see if we can get into a queue. I doubt it. I'll give it a 10 to 15 minutes like I usually do at the end of the stream. We'll maybe jibber jabber a little bit. Look at the queues. Maybe we queue a random dungeon queue and see we land on the normal thing. There's already a thread that's up in the Discord saying removing it from normal queue, like normal random queue, because of its tuning, right? Its concept tuning. And we'll see if we bump into that and do a normal. I actually don't even expect to do an advance run this time around within the next 3 weeks. And usually the way I go about it is I queue with the pickup group. That's the whole point of playing this game as a live service game, in my opinion. If you're not going to play this as a live service game, then you would commit, right? You would commit to gathering a regular group, fill in guilds, and then run apparently hundreds of runs to get the master experience, right? If there's been talk, that's the discourse right now. Like, we're not talking about tens of runs, hundreds of runs. And I don't have to cover this stuff. Someone already did. Like, the ones that are actually still in this and have organized their schedules and commit their social activities to representing this game or interacting with this game, they have the data. So they have been sharing profusely. I'm operating from the perspective of a live service solo player. So a solo player who wants to have the accessibility of interacting with random people. Pickup groups are number 1. It's not play with the same players over and over again situation, or playing to bootstrap through and calculating how many runs it takes to get something the fastest. I like to play content, complete the content horizontally, cover the content, and draw attention to the devs, right? Like, hey guys, there's a new update. The devs put out some new material. Let's go cover it. And then hopefully everyone else is enthusiastic about it, right? This is not the case. It's been less and less of that. It's more and more about seeing fixed groups trying to figure out how much more terribly long and devaluating their time has Cryptic pushed. So, the old leadership coming in as the new leadership, maybe perhaps that will change things. However, that old leadership was also the old leadership that thought structuring Neverwinter then, not a live service back then, like WoW, like World of Warcraft. So I don't see the trend changing too much, where it might actually get even more or less valuable when it comes to live service games. Like, I could understand if everyone was paying for a subscription and that subscription has a obligation to reflect its value in the expansions each time, like the new module updates. But that's not valuation now. Valuation now is on a free-to-play and a voluntary basis to promote the game and pay for the game voluntarily, like incentivizing payment. So that's what I mean by most of this stuff is out of touch, because using loot and configuring your loot tables as a way to evaluate the value of your time, because free to play is evaluated on time and convenience. So when you hear hundreds of hours and hundreds of runs equating to a singular piece of gear that will get superseded or rolled out momentarily, then that is devaluing. Devaluing. If your next module extends that life, it devaluates it further. Like, extends that playtime, devaluating it further. So, not that it is whether it's good or bad. Like, we're not having a competition on, oh, this game still does this, so this game should do this, or etc. It's more so what is most appropriate for the system that they have. And since, I mean, I'm willing to subscribe to a game to do the other thing. Like, okay, grinding, and then the gear is accessible, and then the content is funded by a monthly subscription. Final Fantasy 14, World of Warcraft. Like, I am down for fair pricing. I think what is occurring is, yes, this system still exists elsewhere, but those systems are rarely ever live service systems, like free-to-play live service systems. They're paid-to-play live service systems. So I feel with the dialogue that's happening is cherry-picking aspects instead of looking at it holistically. Some people would defend the grinding and the reward of grinding, and then completely ignore the idea that the valuation of things deal with the valuation of your playtime in a live service model versus the valuation of the pay to play, like what you have paid obligatorily in order to evoke obligation on the developer. Like, no one is paying to obligate the developers in this case. So to not end on a really negative start to today, it's a privilege to play a live service game, so therefore you can also choose voluntarily to leave, right? I don't want to sound like I'm being upset or discontent. I'm more so interested in the current existing discourse that is happening in the game. I remove my time and truncate my time to fit the value that I see fit in a live service game. So instead of covering this game for 10 weeks straight to redundantly do something, right, I shorten it. 4 module, like 2 or 3 modules ago, I used to play 3 characters, right, because it was the valuation of the time was higher per unit. Now I have a little bit of a hot take here, and we're just gonna go in to talk about this. So this, I don't know if they have data for this, but there is one way the developers can tell if their model is working or not, or like their design is working. I'm gonna go on a limb. If they have data to prove this or show this, I'm willing to wager that this campaign will have a increased completion rate. So despite all the, in my opinion, very poor out of touch judgment on the campaign area, like how heroic encounters are serialized with the encroaching frost event as opposed to having them both on separate timers so they can occur more frequently independent of each other. That's my personal take. Some people like it that you have to run heroic encounters, so if people are running heroic encounters, it would trigger the encroaching frost. They can both trigger at the same time without them being tied together. That's far more valuable when it comes to flexibility. Now, I'm gonna say because they added this Celestial Armor choice pack, you only get one. There is going to be a higher campaign completion time, and it's going to be very low effort. Like the most efficient way I could say in the time is that you can probably put all your characters or run your characters around and take out the named encounters and then just complete campaign that way, or sit and tag heroic encounters the whole time and update your character with this one piece of armor, because this one piece of armor, that piece of armor right there represents like hundreds of hours legitimately. So what I can say is, if this is the new way of doing things, then yes, you can definitely incentivize completing a campaign over even running your dungeons. You don't have to run a dungeon to do this. So what happens is, I think this part is probably the highlight of the campaign, where completing a campaign means you get that piece of gear and you wait for the next one. So you just pick a gear that is outdated and then you wait for the next module. And then do that and do that. For me, this is live service. This, in my opinion, is how live service feels, where each campaign, each update gives you something that updates something that was not previously updated. So like horizontal. And then when the slots are all filled, you make a new slot. You create a new subsystem. So completing the content would become incentivized for the sake of playing. And then you can throw in leaderboards and stuff for other things as a cosmetic, or like as a merit for that, for the other things, like people who want to do like performance runs and whatnot. But having your performance tied to accessibility of chance, like RNG and stuff, that is not guaranteeing playtime, in my opinion. I think that's a backwards, out of touch way to guarantee playtime. Putting it behind an RNG wall. That to me is more of a subscription based game, something that's guaranteeing your value, right? Like, how much is 100 runs valuated? You don't know, because it's behind an RNG wall. Like, how much is 500 hours to someone versus 100 hours to someone? Luck. So instead of making it luck to make it consistent, because it's evaluated on playtime, you can make a model where, yes, there's RNG, but you already know the value of your time. You pay 20 bucks a month. That is the evaluation of your time. So it can normalize some of these arguments. In this case, the sky is the limit. So because, in my opinion, there's no obligation for the developer or the publisher to obligate how much they're saying it's worth, how much your time is worth. They can push it as far as they want. And in my opinion, the discourse is that they've pushed so far the last 4 modules that now it's the typical conversation. Like, there's a de-evaluation of time to the point where you can drop this game at any time. Or you could do something like this, which is what I'm going to do, basically. If they're going to put that this thing is worth hundreds of hours, right? But you can do it, you can complete a campaign in a fraction of the time. So that means the value of your time is astronomically high for this. So I'm going to, like, at least all my characters will have one piece that is up to date. Right, and then I'll just wait for the next one, because this is bound on pickup on character, so you can't actually like complete it 10 times over and then equip one of your characters. Clever design for them, obviously they did it intentionally. So for me, it'd be like, okay, that's the goal, you finished the campaign. Now the thing is, the campaign is so, in my opinion, so stripped down, so cut short. I enjoy hearing voice acting and like the music that's all going on in the background and stuff. But it used it like there used to be a time when it goes through the lifespan, but when you hit this milestone, there's nothing after this. It's like cosmetically rudimentary, like boon points, maybe things that you'll invest, and then it gets phased out again and again. So, and now there's only something at milestone 1, and I'm guessing there's only something at milestone 4, and that's it. There's nothing else in between. So that's even less than ever. So the minimum I feel like I am willing to cover is basically to week 5, because I'll be covering the 4th milestone. And then the rest, you just assume that I log in, maybe station all of my characters around where the named encounters are. I log into those characters, take out those mobs, and then log back out. And then after like the huge lull period that Cryptic has, I'll get one of these pieces, and that's it. I won't, in my opinion, it's not even, I'm not even sure if I'm gonna even enter the dungeons anymore, because the thought of running a dungeon is so lackluster. It is RNG on top of RNG. I would complete the dungeon for the sake of seeing what the dungeon is, but man, replayability all-time low, and usually replayability can be compensated for what is in there. However, in this type of the game design, all of the gear is used as advertisement. So like, instead of discovering what you can get, you know what you can get. However, the RNG, again, I would highlight that table in week 1 where they listed where you can get the table, you know, like where the items are, where the stores are, what the names are. It's missing a very crucial column. What is the probability? Without probability, there's no valuation of time. So, in my opinion, it is a very purposeful, intentional obfuscation, deliberate carrot on the stick situation where, hey, look at this fancy table with all of these gear and where you can get them and whatnot, and there's no table of probability. Because in my opinion, if you're operating a live service model about playtime, and you're using a carrot on a stick for the gear as your advertisement for the worthiness of your playtime, which is the currency playtime, then probabilities should be on that table. Otherwise, that table might as well, in my opinion, not exist, because live service games can also thrive on the opportunity of discovering what the odds are and what is in the reward stack. However, in Neverwinter, that's not the case. Neverwinter is predicated on using the gear as advertisement for incentivizing running. So then add the probability. This isn't a gambling game. Like, games are not gambles. So at least someone can go in saying, oh, I'll accept that there's a 0.5% chance that this is going to happen. And then here's the thing. It will hold the developer accountable for meeting those percentages. Because right now, another branch of the discourse when it comes to the evaluation of player time is the guess and check of what is a fair price on player time that is mediated by the drop rates and the percent chance of getting gear. And it's a constant like, oh, we think it's a fair price. You don't. You don't know if it's a fair price. You think, but you never share. So like, I hear the community manager like trying their best. I don't know if they're responsible, but they're constant community. We as the developer constantly think that this is a fair price. It's a fair price, as in fair drop rate, to represent the playtime. And yet then the critics, the players, fire back and say, well, it takes this long. You think that this fair price, this percentage drop or amount drop equates to this amount of time. It's not. It's not a fair drop rate. And then the developers will fire back and say, well, we think our probabilities speak for themselves. It's like, what probabilities? You don't list any of them. There's no transparency, right? When you're presenting an argument, it requires evidence. And evidence is only one directional. It's unidirectional. The players have evidence from their experience. The developer simply just says, I think it's a fair price. I think it's a fair rate. We are trying our best to be fair. Evidence. What are the rates did you set? What are your anticipated drop rates per unit time? Convert those things, disclose those things, and see if it matches the evidence that is produced by the players. That would remove discrepancy between the discontent. Like, at this point, it's just hearsay. Like, oh, we have your best interest in mind. There's no transparency. You can't possibly demonstrate good faith by obfuscating a player evaluation, right? Like saying, oh, we think it's a fair drop rate. Says who? Says what? You have to provide evidence and transparency in a form of good faith. Players already do that. I mean, even if it's not in good faith, like maliciously, or they're upset, they will still provide evidence because their evidence is their experience. So you sit here and it's constantly, like, in my opinion, this constant platitude without evidence, without showing of good faith. Like, oh, we'll try to raise the drop rate. It's like, okay, well, what was the original drop rate? What was your anticipation, and what were your projected rates per unit player? Like, you didn't disclose any of this stuff. So whenever you say we're going to increase the drop rate, like, what does that even mean? You increased it by tenfold, like tenfold of what? 0.001%? That's still roughly 0.00, like, 0.001. In experience, in hindsight, that doesn't feel any more valuable than it changed before. And here's the icing on the cake. Lately, anytime there was a patch notes that involve implementing and solving things and reducing or increasing drop rates, nearly over half of them don't even work. They like consistently fail to execute despite even saying that it's working or not. So you can't even reliably and transparently confirm or test these things. When they say, oh, the drop rate for this dust has increased by 10x, and then immediately afterwards, like not long after, it's like, it doesn't seem like the drop rate changed. Are you sure? And like, yeah, we did it. It's like, evidence, please. Can you tell us anecdotal experiences? Can you tell us your calculations, your extrapolations, so that everyone can get on the same page? That is the current discourse. It's like reading where anything the developers say is in good faith. It's like a trust me bro situation, and then the players have to provide all the evidence in order to not trust them. Like, what I mean is, when a player is not trusted, they have to provide evidence in order to suggest feedback because they're not trusted. The developers keep telling the player base to trust them without any evidence. That's a trust exercise. There is no evidence. You simply state something and say, trust us, we did do this. Meanwhile, the players are never trusted because the developers constantly ask for or require maybe an inconceivable arbitrary amount of evidence in order to even allow them or like suggest awareness of certain things, like drop rates, like this type of thing. Downtime, I already talked about the like repeatables and stuff. I hope to see more repeatables and weeklies. Maybe I'm incorrect, but generally speaking, excuse me. Anyways, um, it's already in F. Like it's like encroaching frost is solid F. It's like below 0. I don't even want like I don't even want to do those things. So, in my opinion, the one way to get the highest value per time, which is kind of what live service players do quite a lot, and it's like a point of fun and investigation, is take all your alt characters that you can get into this area, put them in every single one of the rare spawn locations, log in and cycle through them, and take out a rare spawn. Complete the like the currency for the hunt, right? This one here, whatever is on the wanted board, right? And then log out, because really there's not like most other things do not value your time. It's getting really wild. At least that's my attempt to reconcile. And then you wait for the next module. Maybe it'll be different. I actually typically end with a very hopeful like opening statement. So maybe the next one will be a learning lesson. I have no idea at the moment. I do like the silver lining is I do like this. I like the idea that completion is what gains horizontal investments, not vertical investments. A vertical investment would be farming all the gear, spending hundreds of runs, hundreds of hours getting all the gear, and then in the next module, at least some of the gear will have to be phased out. That's vertical investment, as in you're expecting if you get all your BIS right now, some of those things will no longer be BIS, and that works for some other players. Like other players enjoy that, right? I don't like vertical investment in live service models. You want all of the content you complete to be meaningful horizontally, as in you're collecting. It's a legacy of all the things you want. And then when it comes to purchasing, like spending money on the game, you're collecting things, right? Which they kind of do, fashion items and whatnot. But it's all sorts of messy. The vast majority of the valuation of player time is on a vertical stacking progression. Basically, your previous accolades are masked and reduced to nothing. Not only is it increasingly devaluing your time per unit of whatever you do, you might not even be able to get any valuation of your time, because RNG upon RNG can deny you any valuation of your time, only to have it phase out later. Like I talked about this quite substantially whenever I'm covering P5X, Phantom X, Persona 5 the Phantom X. It's horizontal. You own a banner, you can use that banner. Even power creep doesn't affect the use of a banner in their modes. In fact, oftentimes their modes incorporate a rotational aspect of using all the banners. So anytime new content comes out, you're collecting. Your collection is always positive. It always goes in a positive direction. This is not going in a negative direction per se. It's treading in place. You are replacing all your vertical investments. Your investments are barely returning investment in general, because your time keeps going up and your payout keeps getting it's stagnant, if not less. So that to me is what is making this stuff incredibly out of touch. And this is probably gonna be the last time I'm gonna aggress and like maybe like significantly contribute to this. I think my approach now is that I am gonna cover 5 weeks, see the milestone on the 5th week, because weekly haul, terrible design in my opinion, to have the weekly haul somehow attached to the milestone of the quest, right? Over and over again. I keep saying this. So they will squeeze 1 extra week out of me. And if this stuff no longer has story attached to it or some interesting thing, then I'll scrap the whole thing. And then maybe do like a state of Neverwinter once a year or something like that. The idea is that, like I said, free-to-play live service games are valued based on time. And then the incentive to spend money is the extra valuation of time. So when a developer is able to, in my opinion, convince a player that their time is incredibly valuable in the game, they are more likely to willing to spend money to compensate for, you could even call it player guilt. Like, oh yeah, this content is great and I spend lots of timeless memories. It's worth more than the time I placed in playing the game. So therefore, that can be made up by a willingness to spend. Right now, it's a deficit. You spend far more time than the perception of its worth. So instead, it feels like the opposite. Like the developer owes the player for playing their game, because it's like labor work now. It's not more valuable than the time they placed in for the reward they're getting. So the incentive to spend is, in my opinion, either at an all-time low, or it's spending out of coping, spending out of compensation, which is their current model. That is their current model. They are making things so egregiously unacceptable, in my opinion, that the incentive is to spend. So now you're spending for compensation. And what is that popular phrase for spending for compensation of player time? You're going to hear it. Pay to win. The pay to win is a compensation for coping for a lack of content that rewards the player for exceeding or failing to meet the player time's valuation. So when you compensate, then it's considered pay to win now, because the player feels like in order to remain rewarded and compensated for their time, they have to pay to meet that amount. There are even pay to win games where the base content is so valuable that the pay to win content that still meets the same checkpoints, like quality criteria that Neverwinter has, but they don't say pay to win in those live service games, because the value is higher. When they play the game, it feels like they are getting away with robbery, basically. Like they feel like they should spend money on that game because there is such a great game that there's no way the like you get the sentimental attachment, like they don't want the game to end, or they fear the developer and the publisher might not make enough money. That's kind of a rare case, I understand. The idea is you are not going to feel good about spending if your time is valued less in a free-to-play model. So then when you spend, it's pay to win, because you're spending to compensate for the lack of valuation of the player. You're making up the difference of what the developer expects your time is worth and what you think your time is worth. And in my opinion, right now, there's a huge gap between what players think their time is worth versus what the developer is. And then whenever a developer says, oh yeah, we made drops fair. No, you didn't. You didn't even show it, in my opinion. Like, no evidence, no extrapolation, no prediction to see if it's actually true. How about another thing? Take 2 of your developers and produce the result that you say is fair, right? And then compare it representatively with the player's data. If not, then the developer is responsible for collecting the data, because we play your game, the player base plays your game. And To me, that's why I want to reiterate. This is a nice thing, and I imagine because this is here, whoever made this decision, the campaign completion rate is probably going to go up to demonstrate how it, and I'm going to be real, like this is probably going to be so much more significant statistically than watching how much their dungeon is, how good their dungeon is, or the feedback of their dungeon. Because while I still like the dungeons and the mechanics, hats off to the dungeon developer, right? The people who make the mechanics, whoever is deciding on the reward has squashed good faith in dungeons because you're expecting the player to leave consistently on a sour note by playing your content, because the person who's deciding on the rewards is indirectly overshadowing the experience of the people who design the rest. That goes with voice acting, it goes with music, because over time, when you exhaust a player on the content, then the player leaves by saying the content is mediocre, basic, overused. And those people might be different people. Again, I'm emphasizing they probably are different people, because in my opinion, a person who's designing a dungeon isn't the same person that says, hey, I should get my I know a lot about my dungeon that I designed. Maybe I should get the player to play it 500 times across like 1,000 hours so that they will know how good my dungeon is. I don't think that's a logical way of thinking for someone who designs dungeons. It's more so for whoever's deciding how the rewards work, which is a different person. And I think personally, the people who are making the choices with rewards and thinking what's fair and stuff, they're incredibly out of touch. I'm not trying to say that the people that are making the dungeon, if it is, like for example, I can't confirm this, right? There's no transparency in with Cryptic most of the time. It's usually platitudes and like circumventing and secondary talk, right? Subjunctive talk. So if the dungeon person is in fact the person who makes the reward rates, then yes, I'm talking about that same person. For myself, I think I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt that the people who are making the content, which I appreciate because it's a privilege still, free to play game, live service, it's a privilege to play this game. I can choose to quit at any time. I can narrow my time to maximize the value that meets it. And then that's all I'm going to do. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to sit here and do something that I don't want to do and then complain about it. So if I don't get into a dungeon, if I never play this dungeon, it doesn't, like, it's very low value to me. And I'm sorry for not being able to show the person who made the dungeon. Like, it would be cool to play a dungeon like once or twice and leave with a great sentiment. That's my bottom line. It's not everyone else's, so feel free to share your aspect of how you want to experience things. I like to do a dungeon maybe 10 or so times, spread out between like weeks, like a dungeon a week, and that satisfy my craving for the mechanics, and I wait for the next module. Wait for more music, like actors and stuff, and celebrate that, like talk about that, not the gear that is being spun in place and has like a facelift each time. Like they basically just change out the name and reduce the rates and add more layers of RNG for effectively the same thing. It's kind of like being sold the same burger, but they're renaming the burger and marking up the price. Like, hey, did you like your standard special burger for a year now? Now we have the special burger. It's the same, they sell you the same burger, but it has a new name. So it feels like it's trying to be sold as something new, but now it comes with a higher price tag in the form of playtime. That to me is what's happening with dungeons, trials. Oh, trials, soul harvests, like both the soul harvests, completely overshadowed. Like you nearly the grind is what overshadows the wonderful work that went into all the stuff. And now it's gotten to the point where plus or minus dungeon, it's right here. This is the dungeon. Like I honestly prefer to do this. I would complete a campaign where this is my personal bias. 6 milestones with like some dialogue, some lore and stuff, and a chest. I'm good to go. So that's what I'll do, basically. And I hope by serendipity in the later today, tomorrow, and the day after, I get to show like the normal dungeon. Possibly an advanced dungeon. Maybe. If so, then that's cool. I'm not touching masters. There's no chance. No chance whatsoever. In fact, I have an unpopular opinion. Discard masters. Completely discard masters. Like that's my personal take. Other people love that challenge and do all those things. That's great, right? It's admirable. That's my take on that. All right, so let's do our milestone stuff. So let's do our milestone stuff. I think it's the wife, right?
We've a task for you.
Oh, we should grab all
Everyone's
the
struggling. The
weeklies
land suffers.
that phased out first. Go grab all the weeklies. Hug only, right? If you're pickup group only and you're playing this game like a free-to-play solo player that want to play with other players in a pickup group format, masters, pragmatically speaking, is irrelevant. When you choose to decide to divest your time, join a guild, grab a group, start organizing, that is not the same category as someone who plays a live service game on occasion, as a solo player who want to interact with random pugs, right? Like, I like doing that. So I want to be very clear. If you don't like doing that and you're going to say like, oh, suck it up, you're playing a multiplayer game. It's like, I know I'm playing a multiplayer game. I like playing with random players. That's not the same as, oh, you're playing a multiplayer game. Go play with 4 of the same people or your collective group that you don't hang out with other people. That's a different goal for a multiplayer game. That's called a cooperative, in my opinion. A cooperative multiplayer game. You are constantly cooperating with the same players, the same team. Multiplayer games, you're either going to bicker or argue or contrast or conflict with any player you come upon, and you have to work together through them. Some are successful, some aren't. I like that. I actually don't mind having failures and success because it's playing the game that a live service game rewards you with, not whether it is failure or success based on performance. That's contrary to cooperative multiplayer games where you are honing and constantly creating consistent success and expectations. Meeting people in a multiplayer game for me is it's a mixed bag, and I like to work through that mixed bag. So hence why I tend to have multiple perspectives on problems and whatnot. If someone says my viewpoint, I might come up with a different viewpoint to increase the number of viewpoints. Multiplayer games for me are places to interact with anybody, not your exclusive club, and then making it sound like someone who doesn't like performance rated cooperative modes as someone who doesn't understand how to interact with people. for me, I think people who make an argument that, oh, you're playing a multiplayer game, so just get a group together and work hard and then learn how to do that, to me is a cooperative game. It's like going into Diablo and hitting up your 3 good friends and then only play with those 3. And then you go and tell a stranger, hey, if you had friends, this multiplayer game would be great. But if you had friends, you wouldn't need the game to be multiplayer. You simply invite your friends to play the game cooperatively. So, like, I like my ups and downs. I like tribulations about meeting a stranger. My like attraction to multiplayer games like MMOs is randomly meeting people. Yes, I understand. World of Warcraft had guilds, right? You form friendships and whatnot. I've been there, right? Done that. Still like it. Neverwinter does not incentivize that, in my opinion, in a way that values my time, right? That's kind of the whole point. Like, then someone would ask, well, can't you just play it like a cooperative game? Like, get with the program. It's a skill issue. What I see from the Discord is that if you commit to playing like this, like a cooperative multiplayer game, where you invest in a guild, invest in stuff, what do I read from that? Oh, thousands of hours of mediocre RNG that is forming a large wall of discontent. So I'm not going to play like that, right? Like, in my opinion, pragmatically speaking, I'm not going to play like that, because why would I want to play this as a cooperative game if the result is that I spend an exponential amount of more time feeling worse and possibly even creating more discontent with people that I know? How do I know this? I did do this. Hardcore Vault of the Stars. That's when it started. When you spent 6 months straight curating, bantering, creating loyal in-groups and cliques, and then it splintered the group. And that, in my opinion, is not quite the player's fault. Like, it's not solely on the player's side. It's like 30% the player base fault. It's more on the developer. And now, that was back then. That was back in Hardcore Vault of the Stars. Now, only the elite of the elites, I suppose, who really like to do thousands of hours in a cooperative setting and having to have those people show up all the time and cycling through people like you're playing a MLB draft tournament or something like that, or fantasy league. That's probably up for them. I think that I enjoy a game that's designed so that people are expected to always to play with random people. So everything is tuned for playing with random people. A multiplayer game, an MMO, where it's randomness of meeting people that you can become friends by serendipitously meeting them, not collectively in a yacht club with a membership, right? Collectively meet them, and all of the game is tuned to that experience. So, like, it's not tuned to a in-group elite where they're seeing the maximum potential of their performance as a fixed group that has all BIS equipment and whatnot, aka master tier. It's normalizing the necessity to have people have ups and downs. Like, when you fail, you get something. Less of something, but you still get something for trying. And then when you succeed, you get more of that something. The idea is you're incentivizing people to want to play with each other, regardless of who they are and what they are. You always get incentivized to cooperate in a multiplayer dominant way. This game does not do that. It is forcing cooperative, selective cooperative play. And that is the defender that constantly comes around. Like, oh, well, you just got to get good with a fixed number of group. You just got to get good on this. It's like, have you ever interacted with a stranger before? Because it sounds like you spent many years interacting with the same people. So then when you're in that echo chamber, you probably think the game, even though the only problem the game has is, oh, you have to run 1,000 times with the same group. That sounds like you haven't ever interacted with strangers before. Like, go into a bar and there will be people that may like you and people that won't like you, or people that are mid and indifferent to you. When you go into this game, you're going in with the idea that there are people like you, like to play with you, and everything is peachy except for the drop rates. Because the people that like you and you already know, their specific concern is, how many times do I have to run to, we're already successful, how many times do we have to run to get the gear? Those aren't my concerns. My concerns are, hey, if I go in anytime, any place, let's go, there's 4 people sitting in my instance. Let's become a group, and what can we do to feel like we're playing the game and being valued for playing the game? In like, for me, even roles are archaic to me. So like having a tank, a healer, and a 3 DPS. Having your character be all those things would be great, like a Warframe situation or PSO2 NGS situation where your one character is the character that you have access to a tank, a healer, and a DPS obligatorily. So now whenever there's 5 random people in the city, like, you know, when you're sitting here and there's 5 random people, you can form a team no matter what. And how do you do that with Neverwinter's system? Everything becomes bind to account. Bound to account on pickup, but everything is bound to account. Because now you circumvent the excuse of someone saying, oh, well, I can't play because we're looking for DPS, or, oh, sorry, tank is already filled. No, everyone is a tank, healer, and a DPS. Now, that's where it gets tricky, because right now, not only is it difficult for the people to gear one character with thousands of runs, we're only talking about one character so far, but you need 3 characters, and the person who's doing the reward deliberately made it so that you need to do it 3 times over to have a player base of healers, tanks, and DPS for every player. Like, every player is going to have experience with being a healer, tank, and a DPS. In order for that to happen, you have to do things 3 times over. And it's already tough for 1 time over. So if it's going to be that high, you might as well make that 1 time over worth 3 times its value, simply by making it bound to account. It's not even that. It's still less than that, because healers, DPS, and tanks have required different modifications. So that's the other RNG. So there's so many things that keep from players wanting to play with players. AKA a MMO, a massive multiplayer online game, right? Role-playing game. Right now, Neverwinter is a cooperative game. That's just a cooperative game. It's neither multiplayer, because multiplayer involves meeting randomly. Like, it's incentivized to meet randomly as well. And then it's not massive, because it's all selection. They're all selective. It's a selective cooperative game, in my opinion. Others can push like, well, it's an MMO because it's styled in World of Warcraft. It's like, yeah, but its player base doesn't play it like World of Warcraft. If you really want to go with apples and oranges, right? Pretty intense stuff going on right now. That's kind of my bit. All right, so let's go and collect all these things.
Hello, hero. The encroach.
Yeah, we'll pick up the encroaching stuff too, I suppose. All right, let's go listen to what's her name? Inglefrid has to say. Wicked Cold.
We've been sending people to find clues amongst the ruins. They're
Okay.
to look for anything we can use to stop this vision. Hans and Ilsa believe there might be something out there that holds the answers. So far, no luck. And now, a part here has gone missing. With how things are going out there, oh, I expect the worst. Even so, please, bring them back.
All right. So let's go out there and bring them back. Investigate the area. Where's the area? Okie dokie. My prediction is that I'm probably going to sit in PE for like 10 minutes and then end the stream because I really... Oh, we're going to queue into a random dungeon queue and see and complete that and see if we land on the new dungeon. And it's likely we're not going to see the entire dungeon because hubs and random queues do not complete new dungeons very often because of the infinite wisdom of the design language. Again, priorities. Oh no, that's a lore. Oh, well, they didn't make it. What? This is not the first expeditioner. Okay. Let's go try to find the second expeditioner. The music's great. The area is okay. I think the last two modules, the areas were really diverse. This one is kind of okay. I think the music is a great highlight. The story got, like, the lore slash story got cut pretty hard, in my opinion. And then we haven't seen the dungeon. If I don't get to show the dungeon, it's automatically assumed that I'll eventually do the dungeon some other time. Maybe I'll make a comment after the next module and talk about the dungeon in retrospect. All you know, hats off to the people who are responsible for making content for this game. I think there's another part of the crew or the part of the developer that basically overshadows whoever's doing the reward system and figuring out the timing and whatnot. That destroys the sentiments of playing this game. Like, so what if it's 10 hours instead of 100 hours? It's 10 hours of quality time versus hundreds of hours of RNG on top of RNG that makes you feel like it's the content that's punishing you and not simply a person. It's kind of like a executive on top in the dev group, like having an executive in the dev group. Obviously that might be actually the case. An executive is making the choices. Who knows? Like, hey, we need you to meet this amount of time and this amount of reward. I mean, someone's designing the gear, obviously. It would be interesting if the person who's designing the gear or bootstrapping through the gear is also the same person who is deciding on the rates, negotiating the rates, or it's an entire team effort. That would be, in my opinion, a bit disappointing. If it's a team effort and it was a team decision to decide that hundreds of hours is a bottom line for distributing and stretching the scope of their content. I've certainly made things in my life, but man, you must be really arrogant and overconfident to think that if you wouldn't like doing something, hear me out. There is a chance that whoever decided on the reward and the content, if it's the same person, they told themselves like, I would do that. I made this great content. I would totally play my own content for hundreds of hours. Okay. For hundreds of hours. That's perfectly reasonable. I want to see it. Like, please tell me. Like, I really would love to see whoever the developer is that says, yeah, you know, hundreds of hours, pretty normal. And I'm not talking about playing the game. I'm talking about doing something they do for hundreds of hours. And then say with a straight face, like, yeah, it's so much, it's great doing the same thing for hundreds of hours. Obviously, they would have to show it. Not like just say, because that's kind of the root of all of this. It's like, trust me, bro, the whole time.
Won't have you freezing to death.
All right, well, our expedition didn't make it, right?
I see. If something is hunting us down, then that means we're on the right path. Need to be more careful. I'll handle this mess. You should talk to Hans. Says he needs your help with samples or something. When the world is calm again, we'll put them to rest.
Okay. Hans is the alchemist, the resident alchemist.
Remember to take a breather, or the stress can drive someone mad. I should listen to my own advice. Ah, there you are. Just the person for the job. These temperatures are interfering with my work. And it's only going to get worse. I've been collecting samples to study these strange deformities in local wildlife. These were collected within close proximity to the docks. I suspect there may be variations or degrees of intensity, though what they're dependent on is a mystery. If you can bring me more samples from further out, perhaps I can deduce the cause of these oddities. I'll need a few types of samples, so if you can find me a mixture of flora and fauna, that'd be grand. Oh, and if you chance upon a particularly misshapen subject, I'd like something from that too. Thank you.
Sure thing. Sure thing, buddy. This is where I would insert the obligatory, I love flower picking. Alright, let's go find these samples. Whoever decided that all the groups have range to dismount people as they're going, F for effort. Alright, so collect sample from wolves. Samples from thorn pines, okay, wolves. Challenge of the gods is spamming everywhere. Alright, so we got the wolves. Now we know some thorn pine. Play a twisted troll. What's a twisted troll? Thorn pines. What do thorn pines look? This is an interesting area. Sooner or later, I'll be able to spot. Are thorn pines trees? No, doesn't really look like it. I'm looking for something small, not something big. So let's look at big things. Can I? Nope. Hey, mister, can you point me to some thorn pines? I don't see thorn pine. This is also one of the uh like negatives of this environment or the quest design. The things are really tough too. You're just wandering around like, okay, so a thorn pine. Perhaps Hans would have been very adequately helpful to tell me, to describe what a thorn pine is. I genuinely did collect samples from... Whoa, that's certainly not them.
Your blood runs cold.
Yeah, I have no idea. No idea. It's kind of like the theme of this module. You're just wandering around. Not particularly in a wonderlust manner. More like in a narrow vision. Narrow vision manner. Like I've got the... Sure. I mean, I would believe it if I actually saw something, but I don't. The joys of... Oh, wait. Okay. We're looking at trees. Or... Honestly, I don't know what it... I didn't know which... I still don't know what part it was interacting with. Constant time sync. Yeah, I legit... I thought it was the tree that it was interacting with, right? Oh, this gets a big F. Like, without a doubt, this is an F. Just going to whatever evergreen tree I see. Even the small ones, I suppose. Because it was like a chopping motion. It's a name mob. Yeah, but this I'm pretty miserable. This is pretty miserable. Unnecessarily, like... Oh, it's these ones. Okay. And this is the same one. I think I've already read in some point where, like, things are so sparse that instead of looking for more, thanks for being annoyingly loud. Instead of being like wandering around for stuff, you simply go back to the same thing. You just wait. Yeah. So I'm just here's a great example. Like instead of looking for other things, just sit here and wait till it times up. That's kind of the nature of this module. It takes longer to find other nodes than waiting here and to interact with the same node. Let's go find one more and keep track of that one. So we're looking for something that looks something like this. Or not. Oh, it's clearly not that. That doesn't look right. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go back to the same one. And you think I might be exaggerating, but I actually think someone screwed up or thought it was a great idea. Like you can't even I'm looking specifically for that tree model. Anything that's related to that tree model. Right? You would think visually. So far I've only found one after spending like 15 minutes wandering around the same area. So we're just gonna interact with this 5 times, basically. That is a big fat F. Like 0 tier. Absolute 0 tier. And if you have to do it as a daily, oh, if you're a repeatable, nah. Now let's go find the troll. I'm sure there are other trees. At least I hope there are. You don't look... I guess I can... You don't look very twisted, honestly. Oh, but that must be the troll you fight later in the vision, right? Maybe? Some like a similar troll? Yeah, there's some stuff sticking out of it, I suppose. Alright. Well, 30 minutes, like, not 30, 15 minutes later. Alright. Go back to Hans. Second Hans. I blame you.
Well, they're not perfect, but I shan't complain. I'll need some time to study these, so in the meantime, do give Irsa a hand.
Beggars can't be choosers. Alright, purifying
Ever
flames.
since the vision, I've been doing what I can to help the maddened. I felt that perhaps they can help us, that there might be clues in their words. One such victim murmured something about trees and an artifact, and I was able to discover that there is a magical device capable of identifying corrupted trees. Though the cause is unknown, and I'm hesitant to rely on the artifact, if there's a chance of easing this suffering, we have to try. We have to have faith. Please, find the artifact, find the trees, and burn them.
Burn them. Okay. Casually destroying the environment. I suppose they're probably corrupted or something like that. Twisted. All right. Okay. There we go. So we burn this guy, or oh no, that's the artifact. Burn marked trees. And how now? How will I tell? All right, here's to looking at trees again. So how could I tell what trees are marked? You? Oh, okay. They're big trees this time. Like really big trees, like centerpiece trees, right? I mean, I see it and it stays. So 3 unique trees. Oh, that type of mark. Good. I imagine it's not in the camp. But that might be not a great presumption. It would make sense that it's not in camp. Okay, third tree. Are you the third tree? You are not the third tree. Still have problems. And guess we'll go in the camp and see. I don't see any particular trees in camp. Oh, goodness gracious. I don't think this tree is like too obscure, I suppose. It's just that the last one, after staring at the trees for so long, really fatiguing. Okay. Dude. What is this? Like... Oh, man. I have very few words for this. It's... Maybe it's... You know that... Is it this one here? Let's go back to Ursa. Alright.
Walk in his warmth. It's slight, but I'm sensing the corrupting influence waning, albeit temporarily. Perhaps if we keep at it, we might be able to stave off the horrible whispers for just a little longer. That should buy me time to continue working. It's not easy doing that, and tending to the sick. Thank you for your help. You should check back in with Hans.
Thank you. I will do just that.
I've discovered something interesting.
Oh yeah?
The samples you brought me indeed have degrees of deformity, with the worst being nearest to the ruins. We need to focus our efforts there. Which reminds me, before the invasion, I discovered mechanisms linked to a magical archive. I'm not sure who or what it belongs to, but I believe if you activate these mechanisms, we may get more answers.
Or more questions.
More questions.
Solid. Solid. I like that bit of a quip on exuding science, you know? Exuding a intellectual mind. More answers or more questions or both. Usually it's both. More answers and more questions. Spoken like an inquisitive fellow. This consistent, necessary, like, movement around the map. What are you looking at here? Activate mechanism. Oh, here it is. Okay. Yoink. Friendly guys. Don't even notice. Oh, you guys don't look friendly. Friendly? Yeah, they're friendly enough. Hold. What? Oh, come on, dude. Where'd you hide the mechanism? Just look for the mechanism. I see it. I do. I can't say this often, no. The music is great. The background music. It does exude that little like ice scape and like etherealness feeling a lot. Enter the review. It's very lovely tune. Got some like heart thumping, but also ice wonderland scape thing sound. All right. So where is this? Old Bone Pass. All right. Yoink. In we go. Oh, is this gonna be some shenanigans? Let's go.
Suspicions were right. These are indeed the ruins of an ancient giant civilization. Judging by the strange flora, it's hard to tell what this place might have been. A research center? An outpost? A stockpile? These specimens, though, they're odd. Ugh, this headache. It feels like it's getting worse.
The message becomes garbled again as met. Interesting. Aww. Wait. Maybe there's something behind that door eventually. Be nice. Okay.
Fascinating and concerning. Giants, headaches, strange flora. Seems to correlate with what's happening right now. But this archive is old. Very old. Is this something that has happened before? Or maybe something that's been slowly happening for a very long time? I'll inquire with the expeditioners if they've encountered anything else. Until then, Inglefrid will have more work for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. That is a fourth wall break right there.
Messengers were sent out to warn the other settlements. It's risky, but you don't survive here without caring for your neighbors. Without them, we might not have reached 10 towns, and by extension, you. Most of the messengers have come back, but one of them is missing. Their path took them further out north than the others, closer to the old ruins. See if you can find them. Or what's left of them.
Naturally, what's left of them. Fair enough, fair enough. Enter cave. Where was there a cave? That's interesting. Oh my. Friendly? Eh, friendly enough. Friendly? Friendly enough. Oh, that is not a that is not an obvious cave. All right. Friendly? Spawn friendly? Oh, that stupid little rock boundary. Who decided to make the big guy a range? Everyone's range. Amazing. Excuse me? Oh, above me. Oh, hey, not dead. Alive, very much alive, and in one piece. The messenger twitches and looks around them. There's a hint of lucidity in their wide eyes, but they're terrified. They try to speak, but their voice catches in their throat. I'll clear the right one when you can. Run when you can. Alright. Secure the gate. 0 out of 8. Does that mean we just, they're all range? Or most of them. Yeah, we simply have to take out... Come here.
I see you.
One doesn't simply walk into Mordor, right? Alright. Really? Alright. Let's see if our new messenger friend... They probably did. Add like the messenger back at the hub. Nope.
I'll put out a warning to avoid the caves. As for the messenger, I'll send them to Inora.
Hold on.
After hearing the news, I fear for those deeper in the north. However, we've armed the survivors with what we know. They might have a chance.
Learning from the past.
Well, I've seen many things in my life. I won't lie. This is the worst. We're no closer to stopping this vision. We've no idea what we're up against. And I could swear it's gotten warmer. And that might sound like a good thing, but it's not right. Not for this time of year. We shouldn't be seeing this much melt. I'm just glad the speaker sent you. I'll see what else I can do. There has to be something we're missing. Maybe Hans and Irsa might have an idea. Or some good news.
Climate change. I'm kidding. That's climate change. Alright.
A little. The expeditioners were able to bring back something I could study from where we found the archive. Parts of the old exposed ruins contained marks, likely old writings. It'll take some time for me to decipher what they say, but knowing these belong to giants, I know where to start. This could lead to a breakthrough, my friend. We're getting closer.
Alright, right on. Oh. Oh, wait. Okay. Alright.
How you holding up? I know, it feels like we're wading against the current, but on the bright side, we've accomplished much by warning everyone of what's to come. I'll work with Hans regarding those giant scriptures. We're all in this together.
Alright, I guess that's the end of the milestone, probably. Who has the next milestone? Oh, no. Who has the next milestone block? Okay. And that's like the third milestone? Okay, maybe there's something for the third milestone. Who knows? Color me surprised, I suppose. Alright, so where are we on our weekly haul? 30? Alright. That means we do 75, basically. We're gonna do the heroic encounters because low effort, I guess. And then we'll do relive the flooded future. That's 50. Unless there's something else. Repeatables are no-go. I really... It's... I can't believe it's come this far where repeatables are like, yeah, not the thing. Is there anything else I can do though? Heroic, weekly. We have to do repeatables. Unless somehow, I don't know, like I wasn't able to do this the first time, let alone, we'll see. I guess we might have to do repeatables. All right. And also I'm gonna basically mute the voice volume because for whatever reason that's what's attached to like some of the sound, like the really loud sound in environment, like creature sounds. Oh well, no, wait, we can redo the one thing, right? I see another repeatable somewhere. You. What is this? Yeti? Eat the Yeti. I raised it, nurtured it. Okay. Eyes in the sky. Locate the missing people using the birds as clue. Goodness. Alright, well, let's... I guess we can try these repeatables to see how they fare. So this guy's repeatable. Overall, the other ones... Gather wolf. All the other... the seer's ones... they're below average. It's like D tier. Most of them are terror bad. And we'll just hide so I can actually see. Alright. So where are the wolf stuff? They did change the plank stuff. That still doesn't compensate for the repeatable. We have to do 4 repeatables. So let's see what the repeatables are. It says 5, so that's good. I think. I imagine the wolves are non-existent. Oh, there we go. Is this S tier? Oh my goodness. There was 0 in that pack. Oh no. All right. Got 2. 20%. All right. It's kind of okay. Give it a tentative. That's provided if I find a 3rd pack. Okay. I'm gonna give it a A? A, B, B plus. Give it to the Wolfing. Is that back in... Okay, back in town. Alright, now let's look at whatever this is. Locate the missing people using birds as a clue. As clues. What? Locate the missing people using birds. Or disappearance hooks here for... Follow the birds. Like, thank you for clarifying. Follow the birds. Like, are we talking about birds from the sky, birds from the port, birds in trees? Guess let's go back for automatic F. I think that's an automatic F. Like it. I mean, after the first one, maybe it'll be more than an F, but or higher than an F. Right now, automatic F. Oh, is this the Yeti? You seem adorable. His name is Ringo. There you go, buddy. Alright, so if the only way to know what's going on is to go back to the beginning, so the quest giver. Alright. Now we look at the birds. F. Big F. Absolute big F. In fact, this is probably enough for me to not do unless we know where the missing people are. So let's go at least try to do it once. Obviously, I'm being a little dramatic. So locate them using birds. Using the birds. Okay. So the question is, like, what birds? And in the description is even more, like, even worse than anything else. Like, that's ridiculous. The bird thing is yeah. I wouldn't mind following a bird, but does anyone see a bird? I imagine you can spot them in the sky or something. There's a higher chance of following rabbits than birds. You think the sound has proximity, but it doesn't. Like, wait. That must be the sound. Okay. Okay. So what, here? Okay. So you run around until you hear noise, which is what I was expecting. That's why I was running around listening to the noise. It's a good timing. Okay, so there is proximity on the noise. Good. So this would be in A. In A, right? Once you know the positions, I imagine the positions don't change. So a pretty decent A, I suppose. We gotta see what the other two are. Okay, that was just sheer luck thinking that it would go across the band. So let's now go through the center. It's okay. 2A-ish. That's pretty good. You're not actually following the birds, you're simply listening. I think listen to the birds would be could be agreeable. I assumed it was sound. Because if you try to locate a bird, it would be ridiculous. However, oh. Alright, so you're... Alright. Alright, let's head back. We have to do one set. Or one more set to make it 20. So then we do the heroic encounter and relive the flooded future. And then we sit and see if we can get a dungeon. Rabbit stew. Okay. I was kidding about the rabbit part, but alright. And then defeat the twisted. Okay. I think these are probably going to be... So the twisted troll is definitely going to be S. Despite it being like really, really far out of the way. Oh no, but they're next to each other. That might be a random chance though. Pretty good. I think the new guy is good. Heck the seer. Big pass on the seer. Alright, so why just the rabbits here? That's 8 rabbits. Already gonna say it should be 4 rabbits, not 8. 4. Oh my gosh. Did they actually run away based on proximity? Oh no. Okay. What? Oh, it's kind of like the frog situation back in Undermountain. Yeah, 4 rabbits, not 8, please. You gotta make up the time somewhere for all the dungeon running, you know? Oh, you know what this reminds me of? The Dragon's Veil. 1, 2. My quarrel is not with you, Owlbear. Yep. Rabbit is like F, big F. So I guess that kind of sours it. But yeah, rabbits are big F. I guess you can get the rabbit in many places, actually. It doesn't have to be this little spot here. Yeah. So that's the silver lining. You can grab rabbits anywhere, hopefully. But you can go out here and probably grab... Or not. Actually, they're not really all that common. I just want to... Sorry, I'm reading the banter in zone chat. Alright, well, I guess we'll take care of this here. I got hit 360. That's a 360 swing, confirmed. So that's obviously an S. Oh no, we have to take out even more trolls. Alright, that's a downgrade. Downgrade to an A for 12. Still say S if it was 5. But this is an A. For being 12 because they're in sets of 5s. So you need to take out 3 packs instead of 2. Oh, actually, no, there's a bigger one here. Still an A though. The rabbit thing. What an eyesore. Oh man. Yeah, this is for the other quest. I mean, we're here. When I mean eyesore, I don't mean like it's ugly. I mean like my eyes are sore. Like staring at trees and stuff. Eyes are fatigued. Rabbit is not an F. We'll give it a C. The trolls are an A, and then we have 2 A's. So the other guy is definitely quite a bit more. I guess you can try to combine them to speed up things, but I don't even think you can do that. Like Inglefrid's ones are not great. And then do we go back? Yeti Whisperer and Cave Dweller. Alright, we'll do that next time. So now we do we relive the future flood, the flooded future, and then we'll do heroic encounters. Can't believe I'm saying that. We're doing heroic encounters because heck repeatables. If I can even get into an instance. It might take longer sitting here waiting. Scrolling through the zone chat to see. Might have to. Yep. Forcing my hand. Picking out named mobs would have been the choice. I skipped out on picking out named mobs. I guess we're going. Let's go to the flooded futures. It's not even clear if there are any instances that are doing HEs. And our HEs in this module are designed in a manner that they're multiphasic, extra long when you're trying to do it with like less people. So it's kind of like a bit inverse related. They tried to make more involved HEs, but more involved HEs also require more time investment, and they increased how much more time it takes without adjusting how many times you need to do them. So wait, where am I going? I just aggroed the whole place. Or maybe not. Okay. Alright. Alright, let's go hit this guy. Oh, optional. Wait. Oh, that stuff is optional. Well, if I do the optional, does that mean you get more? Let's find out. Oh my gosh. So you need the blessing from yeah, you need the blessing from Yersa. I just res. Doesn't really matter. Just res. The frost mechanics. Here. I'm over it. Yeah. Let's go find out if it increases the yield. So we need a blessing, right? And the blessing is... Was the blessing this way? I thought it was off in the shore. Yeah, it's right here. So let's find out. All of them are range. Okay. So we take this. Okay. Interesting. And then we go in. Hans's. This protects us from the frost. Presumably. And now Hans's cave is... I remember it being somewhere here. Like... I have no idea. It was here somewhere. Man, dude. There's so many things about this module that is made to like trigger you so hard. Like, for example, not knowing where the heck... I think it's at the northwest. It's probably at the north. Or actually, might be right here. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Wait. I think I ran by him. This way. A mutated Hans. You've seen better days, Hans. F. Alright. Now we'll go challenge the boss. Oh, you know what? It probably doesn't do anything other than make the boss... Guess we'll find out. Probably doesn't do anything. Like the boss's arena is half in the encroaching frost, so that's probably what it does. I'm not sure what the pendency is. Having all the enemies instantly attack with the range and never like is a design choice that is very intentional, I would say, to stop you from mounting and running across them. I don't see any difference. Other than protecting you from this, maybe if I stay in here, it does something to the mob. No. Optional, or at best. I can listen to the background for some time. It's fantastic. Alright. So we're probably just gonna get 25 for this. And Major sucks. Oh, give the oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Who knows? So we give this to you. Oh, and then we return to her. Yep, it's same 25. No reason. There was another one that when you do something optional, you were given currency, but there's all right. So I don't know. This got triggered. Maybe we just go and do that. I don't even know what this is like. So what? You're supposed to attune the... Alright. Oh, does that mean drag people into the ward? Or no? We just chill. Maybe I should have gotten a potion or something? Oh. Oh, it's the wards that are... damaging you over time. Definitely not friendly. The design of this encounter is very unfriendly. That it? Playing near the ward. Oh. Joy. Wow. Why would you use that skill? Okay, I guess it's close enough. Alright. Okay. Two-person thing. This is an F encounter. Heroic encounter. I mean, it's neat. Like, look at this. Alright, now what? Alright, cool. That's cool. Draw his power near the ward. Drain his power near the... I imagine there's something like this in the dungeon. Zero tier. Does kind of remind me of Vault of the Stars, actually. Want to buy another DPS. At the rate we're going, there is a chance this is gonna time out because we only have 7 minutes. Yeah, we can't even get this done in time. Like F, absolute big F. It's gonna be close, but it's a big F, super big F. You know, one could make a counter argument, but you should call it out and, you know, get other people to join you. Not if the instance is full and you don't have a train going. That's kind of the whole point, right? Like, this is random. I'm in a full instance. This is the heroic encounter that's often skipped. At least now I know. Now I know what it's like. We'll be okay. Maybe like with like 1 or 2 minutes to spare. Legitimately just spent 10 minutes doing this. I imagined a draining his powers, also making him more vulnerable to damage. Because the DPS deals 0 damage. Oh no, it ended earlier, a lot earlier. Hooray. What a suck. What a big suck. Alright. See if there's any chance. Okay. How it feels to be on a full instance and okay, we're doing repeatables, I guess. Otherwise I'm not gonna be able to have time to wait on the disappointing dungeon queues. Yeti Whisper, let's find out what this is. So the Yeti thing is pretty good. The constant need to put one thing at the end of like all the map, in my opinion, would be bolstered with interest if you don't get dismounted all the time and you're just basically constantly having to do legwork across places where you would get dismounted over and over again. Oh wait, we're supposed to pick out wolves. Trolls. Oh wait, do trolls? I think we've possibly those are. Those too. What are tree saps? Right, the buckets. Wait. Oh. This is the cave thing? Oh, and I just have to defeat enemies here? Okay. This one's pretty good. I mean, all the enemies are range. Pretty good. Three groups. No additional targets, no additional task, right? Yeah, like they're all range. How do you make them as annoying as possible for anyone who's melee? Like everything range. Okay. Alright. That one's pretty good. A goodness. We need to collect. Where are the Kirby doodads? And the wolves. One. All right. The wooden planks, though. Oh, let's look. Let's look if the wooden planks are more numerous. This would be the opportune moment. Or is this still butt? Actually, I'm not even sure if they implemented it yet. Yeah, I'm not sure if they implemented it. I'm just going along the side that I know had wooden planks. This is because I did it before. I'm seeing if the outside rim is good enough. You know, instead of worrying about spawn points and saying like, hey, we put more spawn points around, how about reducing the wooden plank down to 3 as opposed to leaving it at 7? There are definitely alternative ways of addressing a problem. No, it's still pretty, yeah, like this is still pretty C tier. Now, I'm assuming that they implemented it. Like, it's not guaranteed when they say they implemented it that it actually did get implemented. Like, look at this. Holy heck, man. Okay. Still a C. Alright. Still a C. Let's go grab the other... Grab the last herb. Eyes are so strange. Okay. Alright. So what is that? 4? Oh, we still have to put it in the cauldron. And we have to go to the Yeti position. Okay. Unnecessary double interaction. Double interaction with the cauldron, unnecessary. Gotta do one more daily or one more repeatable. Oh, this got in. Oh, God. That fire, extinguishing fire. I'll do the. Like, nah. Okay. Rabbits to. Oh, gosh, man. Alright, we're just gonna do the twisted troll. Dude, ignore 90%. Ignore 90% of the campaign and possibly even skip the dungeon is on the table at the moment. For me personally. Legitimately have enough reason to skip a module entirely and still complete the module. Like I'm still gonna get the reward, it's just not gonna do the other activities. Oh, that's right. And then you tack on the extra trolls. Go grab a few of these. Do them eventually. Hooray! Fighting cold. There's a bit of there's a bit of dramatic irony in that. Fighting cold. Alright. Here we are. We got the... oh. Got the kitty cat. It's a shame it takes up the neck position. Alright. So, now let's go to PE. And this is what we typically do. We wait for 5 to 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes to see if there are any, like, brave souls who are pugging JS, I suppose. AJS. What's the place called? Your Toonscar? I don't know. I don't know if it's your, it's probably yo, like a Y. And then Toon. Scar. And then they're abbreviating as JS. Okay. Yo2. Toonscar. Okay, let's find out. We'll give it 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. And we'll queue up for a random dungeon queue. See if we land on it, and then we'll call it a day. I don't expect to capture anything about this new dungeon. Usually I can barely get an advance one in 10 weeks. Let's heal first boss. Advance, so people are farming first boss. How does first boss work? Maybe we can do the first boss in the next 2 weeks. There are timestamps on people's looking for groups and zone stuff. We got 3 minutes left. And I'll just queue for a random queue. Actually, is it in the random or is it in the advance? It's in the random. What about the advance? It's both advance and... Why are they in 2 of them? Okay. I understand that advance. I was like, oh, people can do it in advance, and I'm like, yeah, maybe. Again, the whole are you playing this as a cooperative game or massive multiplayer game? Okay, I guess we're just gonna go into this random advanced dungeon. See if we balance it out. All right. Let's see if we land on the random advanced version. Otherwise, legitimately zero calls or 0 pugs for JS. Scar. Oh, Scar. Maybe something like that. Scar is the name of the place. All right. Let's find out if we land on Scar. Maybe it's pronounced Ska. Oh, nope. Yeah, that's what we get. We got Ravenloft. Most of my exposure is from random queues. And then occasionally if I log in late at night and once in a blue moon, there might be someone who's like, hey, let's do they're looking for an advanced thing. And they would say, plus experience. And I would just say, I was just plus up. And whether they discover if I have experience or not, it's up to them. That's kind of the closest experience I get for dungeons. And then for trials, it's very similar, but even less frequent because of the chances that you will end up bumping into a evening evening trial. I think right now the most likely case is to do like a first boss farm of Scar if we're lucky. Good, they phased the butt head. Can we like super phase this? Okay. Simple enough. I haven't listened to background music in Ravenloft in a while. Off she goes. Only to get burned. Okay. Right. Now we sit here. The weapon drop. Always. Like the echo of the weapon drop. Alright. That sound effects sync though. Alright. EED dead. Anytime now. Wow. Those sound effects. They're so loud. I have like sound effect. Oh, maybe it's under ambient. I have sound effects at like 10%. Apparently makes for some potential jump scares from the sound alone. Okay. I see what that what they meant by removing Jotun Scar from the random dungeon queue. Not the advanced one, but the random dungeon queue. Alright, I'll watch one of the sisters burn herself up. Yeah, this is it for the day. I'll give it another 5 or 10 minutes to see if any pugs are brave enough to maybe do a first boss farm or something. I'll take. I always wanted to do this. We'll see if we can do this. Just to show something. Or it can do it like legitimate. It's fine. We'll see. Let's see if this thing still does it. No, we'll just do it legitimately. Hello? Oh. Hey. It saves a little bit of time. Not the biggest amount of time, but it's good enough. Okay. That's Ravenlaw for you. Alright. And he's gone. Oh, we still have some broad keys. Alright, so that's our attempt to get the random advance, right? Oh, looking for more. Yeah, okay. Alright, wait. There might be a chance. So we're in a group. We need a tank, but let's see what happens. So this is a AGS group in advance Golden Scar. So we'll see. Give it a try. I don't prep in advance, so I didn't like watch a video or do anything. We're just gonna play it by ear. Kinda the intent of playing these games, right? So at least in my opinion, that's my intent. So if we find a tank, we'll play by ear what the dungeon mechanics are. This might take up like all of my time. Like we might actually be sitting here for another 10 minutes or 15 minutes or even more. We'll give it a shot. I guess we can look at advanced stuff. This seems like a okay, like I wouldn't mind getting that. That seems okay too. I think there might be overlaps with other pieces of gear. Oh, this one's interesting. Yeah, gear is really not that interesting. Just interested in the dungeon. You want to know what the experience is like for the typical like hugging. This is pretty much it. And then you wait. So imagine, right? Imagine doing this for very, for however many runs to get like one piece of gear. Obviously, it's intended that you play this cooperatively with like a group and spend all your time. And even then, that was not sufficient to please the ones that do end up spending hundreds of hours doing hundreds of runs. Here, I just want to see the dungeon and show the dungeon. Like a run of the dungeon. Time is it? I want to say I could find something interesting to say about gear. Let me see. So weapons are separated by masters and advanced. That means that the weapon pool is every single class. So the chances of you're gonna get weapons probably far more than everything else. And looking at the weapons, it's biting cold specific. And it requires seconds in combat. So probably you're gonna get a lot of these and not interesting. Like, not really great. Next one, we have like the campaign tiered weapon, which is a scaled down version of the other two. Your standard mods, and then these mods are different from the advanced ones, which I disagree with, so I already made myself clear about that. Making mods different between tiers. And then this stuff is to get you up to speed, so these are all the campaign related things. This is one of the things that people want. Let's see, they come as a set. And this comes from masters, probably. Only masters only, yep. And let's look at this. These have no set bonuses, which I again disagree with. These come from advance. Both of these sets come, so it's probably you get this and you have a rarer chance to get this, and you might be able to upgrade this to this, who knows. But so there's even second class, second luck pickups for masters, right? Unnecessary tier. And then this is your campaign tier. And then now this is one of the biggest discontents here. Basically, the resources necessary to upgrade one of these rings to the celestial rings is apparently absurd. First you have to actually acquire the rings, right? Acquire these rings and then be able to upgrade them. But I think in the infinite wisdom, the odds of acquiring these rings might be low, and by the time you acquire the ring you want, maybe they were expecting you have enough dust to upgrade these. That's probably what the line of thought is. And then of course you have second class rings. Hang on, let me at least the rings mods are the same. Nope, they're not the same. I lied. Or maybe they're in different orders. No, they're not in different orders. They're legitimately just different. Oh no, wait. Maybe it's the image that's different. And they have all the same mods across the board. It's just they're listed in different order. Nope. Different mods. Again, don't agree with that. And here's the campaign ones. And then apparently you can get, right, second class again, second class here's tiered companion gear, and then you can get this from the zone area. I managed to pick one up by chance doing the one encroaching frost that I'm going to do, and that was it. I'm never doing it. We're not doing it another encroaching frost. So now there are two things. There's one group looking for a tank, which is the group I'm in, and then there's one looking for a healer for Masters JS, which has a bunch of sequence of random numbers, and then it's probably experience. It's implied that it's experience only or something like that. So I wouldn't join a master group, unfortunately or fortunately. Like, I'm not gonna dip on this group to join someone who's, I don't know why there's a random string of numbers. Yep. One of the players commented, there's 150 players in PE and not a single tank for AGS. I'm even surprised there are 150. And I would kind of surprised if any of them really want to run on a dungeon that has these sets of things. Just now I got a message from a newly minted player, a newly made, like a new player, a level 20. So still new players. Kind of neat. Neat that there are new players still. This is probably a no-go. Probably head off at this point. Like, 12 minutes has passed. If I weren't recording this, right? If I weren't recording this, I would go and watch a movie or watch something while I wait. Or maybe I will spam something every 5 minutes to see if I can get a group, like a pug together. And it would be like two in the zone chat or the LFG. And if it does happen, I'd probably do one. Usually it takes about 30 plus minutes. Right. So now you have to multiply that by 100. At least 100. Minimum 100. That is like 4 times the amount of time you could be doing anything else. So I usually watch a movie. Like, watch a movie, watch a TV show, write for my plan and practice like language learning or talk about things, read the newspaper like digital catch up on current events, that kind of thing. And that's how you would get to do these dungeons in a manner that isn't obligating people to run them, right? I'm not that invested. So I'll give this another, so it's been 14 minutes. I'll give this another 6 minutes. So when that local time hits 8:32, I'm gonna leave. I'll leave, close up shop. I think dungeons and trials are skip for me. in the future. If things don't change, I suppose. There is still a chance that I will be able to capture dungeon things. So if I do, we'll do the next dungeon. But trials are an instant skip. Unless they show up in a random queue, right? So my attempt for capturing footage would be to random queue into the normal dungeon, which is under advance. The normal Jotun. I hoping this means norm like under dungeon, like random queue. It's where's, oh, that's we're in a group. In a random queue, the normal advance, the normal dungeon, Jotun is under advance. Sucks to be the normal dungeon queue that get Jotun, but you replace me, Paul, by any chance? It's getting late here. Yep. So the peeps left are leaving. Everyone's leaving at the same time. So that's it. That's what happens most of the time. Everyone left. It took too long. They were probably doing it for like 30 to 40 minutes. So that's a wrap. What can I say about biting cold when it comes to the dungeon? The dungeon still has the same problems. They're rarely addressing the problem of dungeons, like the player problem, right? The player problem is unchanging. So the good news is the player problem hasn't worsened, I suppose, like not significantly worsened. The bad news is the player problem hasn't improved either. So that's a thing. And this is your typical experience. The likely case of getting a dungeon so I can make commentary on the dungeon, not like record the dungeon and show the dungeon, is that I could sit on my own time and get the recording button like ready, or I could invest in an infrastructure that requires me to spend tens of hours to get a group together in a designated time, which I'm not willing to. So that's not it's not on them, it's on me. Otherwise, it would be idling my character, which artificially inflates the playtime, and also idling my character in order to see if there are any groups. Then I would get into a couple groups, and about half of them would disband from taking too long. And then if I volunteer as a tank, well, usually that doesn't go so hot. Largely because outdated, right? Things are outdated or experience only. So typically I queue up as a healer because that gives me more observational time to look at things. I rarely like the idea of someone's like, oh, well, just go Google your favorite content creator, or the few content creators, and then study the dungeon before you go into the dungeon. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna go play another video game. That's kind of my thought. So I don't have too much loss here. I want to record the experience. So this was my attempt to demonstrate what it's like and what is the experience like for someone who is not willing, right? I'm not willing, so it's my problem to sit here and queue 100 times with the same groups in exchange for one dungeon run. So like in these whatever the next 4 months that before the next module, I might get the one dungeon run in AGS, and that's all I require. So I'm not going to exponentially increase that time and commitment for the one dungeon run. That is my bottom line. And if you're wondering, well, then you'll never appreciate the full extent of Neverwinter. And someone actually legitimately criticized me for this. They said like, well, then you don't really play the game. You haven't really mastered the game. I'm like, different goals, different people. I'm not here to master the game. You can busy delving deep in your nuance of your mastering of the game while I go master something else, right? That's a difference in priority. Do not project your values onto other people. So I'm not here to project to them saying they're wasting their time doing all these things. They might enjoy it a lot. Much that I respect people who want to sort out their groups and do things for 100 hours just to demonstrate that they're right. I also want to spend the amount of time that I think is valuable to reflect the people who play live service games in a different way. Personally, I still get to the 99th percentile in live service games that value your time as opposed to this. So like sitting idle is something that's uncontested, right? There's no reason for such a idle time. So if you get someone who like runs a lot and they have to sit there for 5 minutes, they themselves would be pretty impatient and emotionally unstable over time. Myself, I simply make a decision that I illustrate it once and I going to try again next week and the week after, and that'll be it. Then we go and watch shows and stuff, and then maybe in the next module in another 4 or 5 months I would be able to in retrospect talk about Jodensgar. So for now, that's me ending the sentiments on the stream, right? This is probably one of the like no contest. This is one of the weakest next to Slaughterhouse. Both slaughterhouses. If you slapped both slaughterhouses put together, they would still dwarf this in unacceptable and unreasonable design, in my opinion. Right? Like disagreeable in general, negative all around. Right? Other than that, I enjoyed what they created. So the actual stuff is great. The reward system and all of that, not so great. And that's me double downing on that's what you're left with. That is the feeling you're left with. So I am certainly one to appreciate the process of doing things, like the reward of making friends and overcoming adversity. I like to learn languages on my spare time. I am very much, it's about the journey, not the destination. However, this game, this developer, and this publisher is about the destination. Rarely is it about the journey. The people who make the dungeons and the trials and the story, they might be more into the journey rather than destination. However, the players, when they're talking about discontent and skill issue and bickering and accolades and what, it's usually focused on the destination, right? And the people who are writing the advertisements for new modules and stuff, they typically advertise the destination, not the journey. Like, hey, here's the most exciting part. Here's all the loot. I'm like, okay, half your page is a big table that doesn't explain how the process works. Right? I did quite enjoy the little blip about the person who was composing the music. Kudos to that person. I still don't remember that person's name because personally I don't really like reading. I'm not the biggest fan on whoever is writing the articles on the Neverwinter site, largely because I've highlighted the misinformation, maybe not necessarily misinformation, but the disinformation and the accountability, the lack of accountability. When things are said and done, there rarely is an apology. The apologies are typically made in a potentially unprofessional way, and then there's a long list of retro fixes and rebalancing that continuously. It feels more like a carrot on the stick. It's like, oh, we're gonna get to it. Oh, we're gonna address it. Hey, can you guys give us feedback while we're at it? So we'll get to it eventually. Not this time. And then somehow it just gets forgotten. Same deal. It's a carrot on the stick over and over again. And it may not necessarily be because the person who's collecting the data and the person who's enacting the data and the person who's mediating the data, they might all be different people. And the organization just simply is very chaotic. So patch notes goes up, half the patch doesn't work, right? Half the patch doesn't work, and then the person who reported the patch has to apologize and then write up a follow-up. And then there's like, they're gonna get this, but they can't make any guarantees because they're not the person doing the patching. And then the person doing the patching is not the person QCing. And then the person who's QCing takes no liability for the person who keeps reporting the wrong thing or an inaccurate thing because they have no responsibility for that. So it's kind of like a circle of, hey guys, we all are at fault to some extent, but you can't really necessarily blame any one person, which is fair. I mean, like, blaming doesn't improve things. Usually you try to be, at least I'm a fan of being mutually encouraging. So here's to encouraging. Encouraging is that the old leadership that is coming back to make anew are not out of touch with the new, and the vision is not to rekindle what is old that is no longer in touch with the new. So I don't think that's gonna go away though. I mean, there's a great chance that they're gonna double down. It'll be interesting. I think this is, again, my intellectual interest in this is, in fact, an intellectual one. It's a great case study to have such a game that is 11 plus years old, right? You don't have too many games nowadays that haven't shut down already. So here's to next week. We'll try to squeeze in a run. Since I've been talking my outro for the last like 10 minutes, there have been one message on the public LFG, so it was a coincidence. We got close. Didn't happen. Alright, so off to next week. That's a wrap for week 3 of 5, again, of 5 for Neverwinter Biting Cold module, right? So until next time, feel free to follow along. It is a free-to-play game. Like I said, I just got a message of a fresh player who wanted to join a guild, and they were explaining how they're a fresh player who just got to 100 Mountain. That's cool. They're still new players. Typically, those are players that I invite. You know, I have to send out guild invites, right, whenever they ask. And yeah, feel free to follow along. It doesn't really take that long to join in this experience. And I can't show you the other experience, the elite experience, the one where people have invested hundreds of hours, right? Kudos to them, dedication, invested hundreds of hours. You can probably find other people that do that. I am more so a live service player who invests in horizontal live service games that invest in the player in itself, and then allow competitive like leaderboard and stuff related things. But cooperative MMOs, I don't typically play a cooperative MMO at the moment. I don't necessarily think the landscape promotes that either. Perhaps in the future, maybe in another 2 or 3 years, that might be different. Cooperative MMOs might come back because of like a desire for nostalgia or what have you. Right now though, feel free to follow along. If not, you're always welcome to come on by and yap. I've said a lot of pretty direct or indirect kind of hot takes. My intro today was fairly hot, so you're more than welcome to defend the contrary or provide a cogent statement about how this game will redefine or hold its ground for its authenticity to promoting a non-live service experience by being a live service game. So until next time, thanks for watching. Take care now. Bye bye.